Okay, so live from Barcelona in Spain, we are privileged to have Yohay Elam joining us today. Yohay comes from a background in computer programming and has been trading currencies for 5 years. He has since launched Forex Crunch, which is an online educational resource for traders that aims to help people trade Forex responsibly. Yohay, welcome. Good to have you.
Hi Rob, thanks for having me.
Absolutely welcome. You're a name I've seen around for a long time, and it's a pleasure to actually have the chance now to speak to you properly. And certainly we've been following your work online. Not to mention Forex Crunch. I can see that you've been trading for a while now, 5 years. At the time of this interview, it's been 5 years. So tell me, how did you first get into trading?
Well, a friend tempted me to go to this Forex course, and I've always been interested in macroeconomics, movements of currencies, not only when I go abroad, but in general. And we went together. I mean, when you do something social, and I got hooked from the first moment, getting to know the world of technical analysis and understanding how fundamentals have an impact on currencies. So all this together, when I ended the course, I opened my first account, my first and not my last, and that's how I got into that.
Great. And how did it go from the first day onwards? Were you a typical rookie? Did you make mistakes like I did? Every mistake in the book, or were you a natural?
I don't know if I made all the possible mistakes, but I certainly made a few. One mistake that is often overlooked is at the beginning, well, not on the first day, but I did have some success. I made a lot of money, and I became euphoric. I thought I'm invincible. I thought it was not sheer luck, which it was, but my great genius, and that was the fast track to burning out my account a week later. So I guess that's a classic mistake, and traders should be warned not to open the champagne bottles too early.
Good analogy. You're very right there. So I'm guessing it wasn't as easy as you expected it to be, like for many people, including myself when I was finding my feet back in 2007, 2008. So obviously you've since become a profitable and proficient trader. Tell me about your trading style, which you since metamorphosed into since being a rookie.
Yeah, well, I moved away a bit from technical analysis and focusing solely on technical analysis, and now I lean more heavily on fundamental analysis. It's good to know what's going on, what moves markets, the news, to understand the trends. And I use only basic technical analysis, support and resistance lines, to find stops, take profit points, and so it's more about the small mechanics of, well, that can be critical, but the big focus is going with the fundamental trends. So I would say it's 2/3 or 3/4 fundamental, and the rest is technical.
That's very interesting. I mean, it's always good to have like a fundamental kind of snapshot of the market. I mean, I'm a little bit heavier on technical analysis myself, but I always have like a sure awareness of the context of the market as to what's going on in the wider world. And I agree with you, simplicity is absolutely key. And I think, as I'm sure you've seen with many people who come to you, a lot of my clients certainly like to make things more complicated than it should be. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen charts that look like, impressive modern art, but I don't find them useful.
Like a Picasso.
Yeah, which can be beautiful with lots of different colors and trend lines and RSIs and all that kind of things. But, well, I'm sure there are some traders who can find their way through their own charts. But, yeah, I think that simplicity should be simple to work. Yeah.
It really should be. And I've got this old adage that if you don't understand what you're trading, you shouldn't be trading it. Quite as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
But that is interesting. So, I mean, obviously, you know, you've suffered the school of hard knocks, like most people who make it eventually in trading. I mean, they say 90% of people who have a go at trading actually fail because they just give up and walk away. Tell me about a time when you failed in trading and how you overcame it to prevail.
Yeah, well, I had the privilege, luck, or, well, like many others, to liquidate my account, but I did give it some thought. I tried to understand what went wrong, what I could improve next time. I took my time to read a bit more, and also to stay away from markets. And then I started once again And for me, I mean, one of the biggest things, most important things, is patience. Something I preach on my website is don't uh, don't risk more than around 2% of your account. So if you do make mistakes, and everybody, of course, we're humans, we make mistakes, you'll have the chance to understand your mistakes and continue. And as I mentioned before, traders can get too euphoric and think they're geniuses when they are successful. So I would also recommend analyzing your successful trades. Not only saying, okay, I made it, and moving on immediately to the next trade, but taking also time to pause after successful trades, like unsuccessful ones.
No, that's very true. Actually, a lot of people who come to trading are very quick to chase the riches, but are not too keen on doing the groundwork, the analysis, and the detailed reading into trades and which ones worked and which one didn't work. I mean, do you feel that a lot of people get into trading for the wrong reasons? I mean, there is quite a gap, isn't there, between expectations and the reality for a lot of people out there who have a go?
Sure. Some think it's just too easy, and they're tempted by some brokers that promise immediate success and bonuses. Just been a contentious issue recently with some regulators, but you can't blame it all on the brokers. You need to understand what money you can afford to lose. How much time do you think you need to dedicate enough time on a demo account, and maybe you'll find out on the demo account that it's not for you. Maybe maybe just reverse the trend and let go. I mean, cut your stop losses on the demo account and understand you went for the wrong reasons. But so basically setting expectations not too low, not too high, making it realistic, and a lot of patience can calibrate expectations and increase the chances of success.
Very true. I think you've mentioned this several times, actually. Patience and discipline. I always say that when speaking to a number of traders out there who've been in the market for 10, 20, even 30 years, that patience and discipline is what make it the trader long term. So, I mean, how do you feel about the argument that successful traders are made, they are not born? This is a discussion we've been having lately, actually. And, people have been coming up with some very good arguments here, but I was just very curious to see what you thought of the actual argument.
Yeah, well, I tend to go with the traders can be made, again, with discipline and patience that we've mentioned. But, in studying, of course, we all have some kind of a genetic thing in ourselves, but I would say I take the optimistic view that everybody can learn how to do it. Maybe it's not for everybody, but traders, I tend to lean towards traders are made, not born, and yeah.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. I would say the same. I mean, trading is quite counterintuitive when you think about it. I mean, more is less and less is more. And certainly when it comes to expectations management, when I say to a number of my clients that when you remove the emotional attachment to the outcome of the trade, i.e. doing this through trading with money that you can't afford to lose, then it suddenly becomes a lot more peaceful rather than always watching the chart and getting stressed out at every flicker of the market, whether it goes up or down.
Right.
So I mean,
certainly agree.
but I mean, you've had a computer programming background. You are what they say is a core green personality, i.e. you're quite technically minded. I mean, would you say this has contributed largely to your success as a trader, or what other attributes would you say have contributed as well?
Yeah, I mean, some grasp for numbers certainly helps. Being technical, being a computer programmer also helps. But again, it's also, as you mentioned, personal traits, trying to detach yourself emotionally, which is much easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But we can train ourselves. We can improve in this thing. We can make ourselves traders. We don't have to be born with this skill. And other traits of success are, analyzing again what happened, not only your next trade. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, and these are core skills which a lot of people listening can apply to their own state. Currently in the market, I mean, a lot of people have different sticking points, but certainly, as far as my experience is concerned, I mean, the expectations management and becoming at peace with that and being reasonable in what you expect from the market is key, as well as what we've mentioned, patience and discipline. But I mean, any successful trader will ultimately attribute their success to a degree to a mentor or a specific book or resource, which essentially help to define their way of thinking. Can you name a specific personal mentor who did this for you, or a book even?
Well, I read quite a few books on these kind of topics on forex trading in the past, and I had quite a few people I consulted with. I'll just mention a recent book that I read, which is really great, called Attacking Currency Trends by Greg Mikhailovsky. Hope I'm not butchering his name. Anyway, Attacking Currency Trades is a recent book, not a book that I had when I began trading, but certainly a great one that, from the recent material that I've read, it's one I can highly recommend.
Oh, fascinating. I haven't come across this book. I mean, a personal favourite of mine is Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, who unfortunately he shuffled off this mortal coil last year and is no longer with us. But it was a defining book for me, and certainly I recommend it to everyone, anyone who starts trading. Because it homes in on the trader psychology side. Whereas a lot of people, I'm sure you might have seen this from people who go to your website, people start off wanting to learn as many strategies as possible and placing as many trades as possible when actually they need to get their own psychology in check to begin with.
Right, and also another thing that I see many traders do is scaling up too quickly. And even they're successful or partially successful, and they say, okay, I got the gist of it, and I want to scale up, and they risk more money, perhaps money they can't afford to lose, but too much of risk, and sometimes they liquidate their account. So again, we return to patience also in the theme of scaling.
Yeah, exactly. The old driver of greed and wanting to become too big for your boots too quickly. It's something some of the best traders I know have all been through in their formative years as a trader, and I certainly went there myself. I was at that point back in 2007 when I first started, and I'll be the first to admit I made every single mistake in the book pretty much. And I'm completely at peace with that. That's why I like to flatter myself to say, I mean, I'm quite an empathetic mentor because I can see when other people are going through the same thing. But I mean, like a lot of people, Yohay, I mean, you've had a pretty similar journey with the School of Knox and learning the lessons from the mistakes that you've made. Let me ask you this. I mean, if you were to repeat your journey from a total novice, knowing what you do now, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I would trade more time with my trading account before jumping into the real world. I would try trading with the demo account on another broker's platform, just to, well, get to taste other how other things look like. And again, when I would enter the real world, I would repeat again this rule of thumb of not risking more than 2% of your account. Then I would have a much lower chance of liquidating my account so quickly.
Okay, you say 2%. That's interesting. I actually risk 2% for every trade. I know a lot of people, a lot of educators out there say 1%. For me, 1%, okay, it's a small amount, but it's not aggressive enough. Whereas I think 2% is the happy medium for every trade placed.
Yeah, well, that's my rule of thumb. It can be 1%. It can be also maybe 3%. But the general idea is to keep it limited to control the risk.
Of course. And risk management, like with any business owner out there, is absolutely essential to survival in the market. And that's the number one reason why a lot of brokers are clamoring for you as their client, because ultimately their clients' losses are their wins. So I mean, Yohay, you say that you've kind of like postponed trading or given up trading for now to concentrate on your latest project, Forex Crunch. Why is this? Surely you can still trade end of day or end of week.
Well, now that I've become familiar with your website, I see that perhaps there's a method to dedicate a limited amount of time while doing other things, something that I struggled to reach when I was trading and working as a computer programmer. I found myself stuck to the screen with my nose rubbing the screen too much, just following every tick up and tick down. And I also like writing a lot, so I went to something I felt more comfortable with and had more control of my time. But that was then, and now it's 2017, and in general, we should always look for new opportunities, for new ideas, and even if something we decided to move on from something, there's always an opportunity to try once again. So I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah, please do. We need to talk. I mean, certainly trading from as little as 10 minutes a day is possible on the daily or the weekly time frame. And certainly if that wasn't possible, I probably wouldn't be trading myself either. That's my little secret. Because, I'll be honest with you, the financial markets, I don't really have an intellectual fascination with them at all, but I found that trading end of day, end of week was the sweet spot, enabling me and certainly people who come through our doors as clients to get the most out of the market from doing as little as possible. And I think that is the sweet spot for a lot of people who just want to trade to make money and nothing else. That is worth looking into. But certainly, I know you're in a very good place now with Forex Crunch. And what inspired Forex Crunch, incidentally? It's a great name. I love it.
Thanks. I wanted to crunch the numbers and also the trends. What inspired it is I wanted to share my experiences from successes as well as from failures. I wanted also to have a stage to express my opinions about fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and I began it as a blog, as a part-time blog that was just, we talked before, something that I did at the end of the day, towards markets close, towards the time between coming home from work and doing other stuff. And I saw it had potential. I saw people who were interested in it. I saw it could be helpful to some traders, and it became a fully fledged website and a full-time job for me.
Great. Well, it's looking fantastic at the moment. I had a good look at it earlier today. So needless to say, if people want further information on yourself and what you do, where would they find you? Forex Crunch?
forexcrunch.com. There's also contact us with my email address over there, and on Twitter, like everybody today. So it's at forexcrunch, just the name of the site. The name of the site is the Twitter handle. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Yohay, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Send our love to Barcelona. It's pouring down with rain in London, as I'm pretty sure you'll be unsurprised to hear. And be booking trips to go out to Barcelona very soon, I think. But thank you for your time. It's been great talking to you.
It's been great, Rob. Thanks.
Well, today we are privileged to have a man who is 22 times number one